Hello, Terry Bell saying hello from Herb Doc. Glad you could join us again. About a week ago, we had a guy with us named Ben. I trained him in testing animals, and wow, is he good at it. He's a fourth-class Sho-Tai practitioner. And we're just going to carry on from where we left off. It was amazing how much information we got in that half an hour. Ben, glad to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to be home. We left off last week on a note of herbs for animals. Why would you use certain herbs? Like red clover. Why would you use red clover?
Red clover is a very good herb for using to cleanse the blood. It's funny, when I started talking to a lot of the seed companies around our area, they told us not to plant red clover with horses because it would cause them to bleed out. And all the testing showed that it was actually very good for them. And I came across an article from the States that was talking about a guy who produced hay, high quality hay for expensive racehorses. And theirs was 20% red clover. So obviously it can't be that bad. But we do have it come up a lot. Anytime there's a blood disorder, usually red clover will come up.
So you use it, I use it a lot on a lot of little dogs. I notice it'll come up pretty quick. Bentonite, when would you use bentonite?
Bentonite is what we use for pulling toxins most of the time. And it's very good at pulling any form of chemical out of the body, which is good, but you also have to be careful with it, because if you're worming an animal with a chemical wormer, you have to take away the bentonite, usually for 4 or 5 days before, and then depending on the type of wormer you're using, how long it needs to kill all the parasites in the body, you have to not give them any bentonite because it will pull the wormer out. The good thing is that after that period that kills all the worms, you can give them bentonite and it pulls all the residual wormer out of the body, so it doesn't poison the animal any longer.
Well, in a human, I use bentonite for psoriasis, eczemas, diarrhea. Does that happen in animals?
Yes, it's called scours, and in small animals it's very dangerous because they can dehydrate very quickly, especially with young animals. So yeah, bentonite works very good for stopping scours.
Okay, do you use it for anything else?
Mycotoxins.
Oh, okay. What is a mycotoxin?
It's a toxin that comes from mold, usually that's growing on grain or corn, and it goes into the feed, and as animals ingest it, it slowly starts building up in their body and poisoning them, and it will slow down production, growth, and eventually, if it gets high enough, it can cause diarrhea and even death.
Okay, so you know why bentonite works? Because I was an engineer and you have to work on negative and positive. Because bentonite is charged negative like oxygen, and it draws poison to it, and it pushes it out of the body. And it is amazing. That's how the rats in Manitoba found it. So, you got to say the rats were sent here for a reason. They'd get poisoned, go down on the ground, eat bentonite, come out and poop it out. So it's amazing for that. Another one, when would you use gelatin with an animal? Gelatin, it's used a lot. I use it a lot.
It's good to help them absorb nutrients. And a lot of times we'll use it for joint issues, dogs that have arthritis in the hips, even in horses, for injuries to the tendons. It just helps them to repair all the joints and tendons.
Okay, because we had a little dog that could hardly walk. He was squeaking and screaming and yelling. And I told her to mix this gelatin and just put it in Jell-O. And that dog would come every morning and eat the Jell-O, and just less than 7 days, he could jump up on the couch again. Easy digest. Do you know what that is?
Yes. We use that a lot for animals, especially if the stomach shows up. It helps them to absorb nutrients. It also helps to almost build them up on a cellular level. And it makes them able to take heavier stresses. If they get sick, it doesn't deplete them quite as far. And it will actually, if they are depleted down to a cellular level, it will help to build that up. A lot of times especially with the horses, if it's repairing very quickly, we will actually give them easy digest, or easy digest will actually come up in the test. And then you know that the body will be repairing so fast that it will pull too hard on the reserves, and they don't have those reserves. And easy digest will serve as a reserve of energy for the body to do this extra work, to do the repairing.
Okay, because I know if a baby hasn't breastfed anybody, I noticed over the years that MS, Parkinson's, ALS, they have a very good chance of getting it. And you give them that, and it's an extract from milk that is not pasteurized. That's why it's so good. It's like a colostrum, but way better. Flax. When would you give your animal flax?
Flax is actually another good one, especially with herbivores as a maintenance, because it's a good pure form of omega-3. It's good for joints. It's good for, well, everything that omega-3s are good for. And it's a very good one to use as a maintenance.
And also flax, it's an omega-3. But if you have it, give it to a horse, they got a beautiful shiny coat, but you can only have it so long because the hair gets fine if you use flax too long. But if an animal gets Alzheimer's, you also give it to them and it disappears. And it's flax. That's what does that. But omega-3 keeps you from getting a blood clot, brain damage, stroke, heart attack, and their bowel goes a lot better. If a dog is constipated all the time, it's wrong food or low blood. When would you use iodine?
Iodine we actually use a lot for, obviously to bring up the thyroid, but we also use it in animals for deworming. Every month to 2 months, you can give them however much, 10 drops, say 10 drops a day for 10 days, and that will drive out all parasites in the body, as well as bringing the thyroid back up to capacity. And anything they don't need, it's water soluble, so they'll just pee it out.
So you test animals every day?
Yeah.
Just about every day. You got a lot of animals too, eh?
Yes, we do.
You love working with animals?
Yeah, I do.
You'll fit right in Selkirk. Okay. I'm glad you became a tester for animals, because it saves me a lot of time when I'm in the Toronto area. This is Terry Bell, and we'll be back in a few minutes after this message. Thank you for joining us with Ben Cascanet from Southern Ontario. See you soon. Today I'm here to tell you about an amazing product. So if you're not able to see a Sho-Tai practitioner, there's none in your area, you might know this product is for you. It's called caprylic acid. Caprylic acid, I use it for yeast infections. People have had amazing results. People have had amazing results with endometriosis. People have had amazing results with knots in their stomach, cramps, phlegm in their throat. It takes it out. The amazing part of it is for your teeth. What happened, I got an infection so bad in my teeth, I had to hold my mouth with water. And I had to test the next day, and I thought, how am I going to do this? As soon as I'd let the water out, my head felt like it exploded. If that's happening, it means you got an abscess. What I do, I test it, and I start taking 2 every 15 minutes. In a half an hour, my pain was gone in my teeth. And I start taking 3 twice a day. When I went to the dentist, he said, you had an abscess tooth, but it's not there. That's because caprylic acid dries up all that mucus. Now, there's another form they use. It's called oil pulling. They put coconut oil in your mouth, swish it around for 15 minutes, and if you have aches and pains in your body, they start to leave. And what is that from? Caprylic acid is an extract from coconuts, and that's why it works so well on your teeth. And we have people that just take caprylic acid and say, oh, wow, you know, they use it when they're really sick with the big C. They use it with yeast infection, and they just cannot feel it. They feel so good. But what happened, the side effect was all their arthritic pains start disappearing. The right combination of caprylic acid, and you start feeling better and better. What a neat little product. Every time my teeth start to bother me, caprylic acid. Every time you have bionic breath, caprylic acid. An amazing product. Look it up, the right combination of caprylic acid. Thank you very much. If you're just tuning in, this is Terry Bell with Herb Doc. I'm interviewing a young man from Southern Ontario, Ben Cascanet. He has his 4th class in Shotei, and he's very good with testing animals. Thank God it saves me going into all those barns. Last time we just left off, here I had one. A lot of animals have bad breath. Why is that happening?
Animals have bad breath the same reason why humans have bad breath. And most of that time it's because of a blocked bowel. It's funny because the last couple inches of your bowel is what feeds your mouth. So if your bowel is plugged up, it usually shows up as bad breath. Easiest way to get rid of bad breath in a dog or one of your pets is chlorophyll. And it helps to clean out the bowel. Anything to clean out the bowel will help with bad breath.
Well, bad breath in a human, I notice it can be teeth, stomach, what else? Lungs, and yeast infection. So I noticed a dog I went and tested, and the bad breath wasn't coming from his bowel, it was his teeth. And that's how I found out they were feeding the dog stuff that he doesn't find in the wildlife, like candies and lollipops and everything else. So one right here, why do dogs you see with cones on their heads, some on their feet, some on their hind legs, or why is that?
Most of the time that's so that they don't lick the stitches and pull them out. As something heals, it starts to itch a little bit. And sometimes they actually have a lot of the creams and ointments that they put on to help heal it is made for topical use only. And if they ingest it, it will make them sick. And that's why it's nice when you can use the silver or the HCLO, because if they lick that off, it doesn't harm them. It actually helps to get it inside as well as outside too.
Because you know what I hate? Somebody's dog come in our house the other day, a little dog, you usually don't let him in, and right away he took his front legs and skid his rear end across our carpet. What is that happening?
That's usually a parasite when they start dragging their bum like that.
Oh, so they have worms.
Usually, yes. And that's iodine.
And that's how you'd get rid of the worms.
Yeah, that usually works really well.
Well, if somebody has a ringworm on their head, a circle and their hair's falling out, you just drop iodine on there every day and it'll kill the ringworm. And it's such an easy thing. Nobody knows. What's the difference between red iodine and clear iodine? We have clear iodine, organic. And I know that's the kind you can take inside.
The red iodine we used to use for painting on the outside of animals, and you can use it with humans too. And if it goes away, put it on the skin. If it goes away within a day, you know you're very low on iodine. If it takes 6 to 7 days to go away, your iodine level is okay in your body.
Okay, it's really a neat test then. You can tell if you're low on iodine if you have a thyroid problem. Right here, why do dogs and other animals eat feces of other animals?
It's usually because they're deficient in something. Minerals, sometimes it's silica. But it's usually because they're not getting something that they need in their own food. So they're trying to find it somewhere else.
And I know you're right, because diatomaceous earth, I'd give it to a few animals and they'd stop eating their feces. Kids that eat their snot, you would say the word, I'm saying a grade 3 word, or they're scratching all the time and biting, that's low in silica. If they give that to the kid, it'll disappear. Why do animals chew the furniture, chew the legs of the furniture? Legs of the furniture taste awful. Just stick your tongue on there once and you just about throw up, yet it'll chew that leg right till it's gone.
And that's a mineral deficiency too. In horses, they call it cribbing, where they'll actually chew on the wood. And it's because they're trying to get minerals that they don't have in their diet.
Right here, you ever hear of animals, they die of thirst and they don't know why? You ever heard of it before?
I won't go near the water.
They won't go near the water, yeah. The water trough.
A lot of the times that's electricity, most of the time.
And you're exactly right, because I went to a place to test them, and all of the animals were dying, and when they did an autopsy, they found out the animal had died of thirst. And when I was testing, it showed the trough. Was it the water? Was the trough poisoning? No, electricity. I could not feel that till I stuck my tongue on the trough, and a little shock came through. So why would I get a shock, not get a shock touching it, and a cow did?
Animals with 4 legs are very sensitive to electricity moving through the ground, because on a human it'll run up one leg and down the other, and it doesn't really damage too much. On an animal, if it runs up their front leg and down their other front leg, it goes through the heart. So it takes very little electricity to almost stop their heart, so they won't go anywhere near it. So a voltage that you can barely feel, and they don't wear rubber boots, so they feel a little bit more than you do, will really upset their heart, and they won't go near it because it can kill them very easily.
Oh, what an amazing thing. That's how fast it could kill them, like a sheep. Mm-hmm. Okay, a Terry Bell at Herb Doc. We're going to be back in a few minutes after this message with Ben from Southern Ontario. Hello, I'd like to tell you about an exciting product called salt. I shouldn't even be telling you about salt. Look it up. Your doctor may tell you, get off of salt. And he's partly right. Like you've seen on one of the shows, one of them is sodium chloride and the other one is sea salt. There is a difference. One's heated to 1200 degrees and bleached. It's not the same product. I've got a sheet that'll show you. Just ask for it. Email us at sho-tai.ca, and you will not believe how many things salt is needed for in your body. You could get sea salt, Celtic salt, Himalayan. Doesn't matter. As long as it's not bleached and heated to 1200 degrees. Check it out. Why do you think they give you intravenous when you go to the hospital? Sea salt and water. Because it's so good for you. And if you're feeling sick, tired, and sore all the time, you need sea salt. Go and have yourself some salt and enjoy your day. Thank you very much. Shotei is an amazing art. We do a muscle test. We read the eyes, tongue, and teeth. You can read the ears, fingernails, facial expressions, and the feet. It'll go into colors. You can read colors. Remember, it's not supposed to replace a doctor. People come in and they're really sick and they say, I don't believe in doctors. I tell them, have you seen your doctor? Check with your doctor. And if you're on medication, I will never ask you to go off of medication. We work around it. Because if you don't have nutrition, medication's not going to work. So I just work around it. And you tell me what you're on. You really don't have to. I muscle test and find out what you need to get your body going. So we look at your eyes, tongue, and teeth, and we do an assessment. And we do not diagnose, we analyze. And I don't prescribe anything, I just suggest. If you just tuned in, this is Terry Bell from Herb Doc. I'm here today with Ben Cascanet from Southern Ontario. And we were talking all about animals. But before this show ends, I got to get some on these two shows about testing humans. There's some really neat ones here. You were going to tell me one of the stories you thought was quite neat, that you had tested somebody.
I had tested somebody, and at the end of running through the standard test, I usually ask if there's anything else I need to look at before I move on to the testing of the products. And it brought me back to the small intestine, which I had already had a number for, so I couldn't understand why it was bringing me back to that. And we have a cookbook that you had prepped for us. And I was going through that to try to buy time to think of what it was that was going on. And the first thing I saw was the symptoms. So I asked if it was a symptom, and it said yes. And I went through the symptoms until it dropped on one. And then I asked him if he was having chest pains, and he said no. And I said, oh, it's funny because the book was telling me, the test was telling me to tell you that your small intestine is causing chest. And then on the next line it said, and shoulder pain. And he said, yeah, my shoulder hurts. Nobody can figure out why my shoulder hurts. That's why I came in, so that you could tell me why my shoulder hurts. And I thought it was amazing that it was from his small intestine, because if he would have asked me afterwards, I still could have found out where it was coming from. But it sounds kind of weird to say your small intestine is causing your shoulder to hurt. So he might not have believed me, but because he hadn't even mentioned his shoulder yet, and I had told him that the test wanted me to tell him that the small intestine was causing his shoulder pain, he actually believed.
And you know why? Because the small intestine and the heart work together as a brother and sister. So if there's a problem with one, you get heartburn. It's actually that. It means the heart is burning because you ate the wrong food and you drove the acid up. So wheat, why is just about every other person sick on wheat?
It's because wheat isn't the same as it was 40 years ago. They went through an intensive period where they really did a lot of work to increase yield. And they kept changing it genetically as much as they could to increase yield, and they never kept checking back to see what it was actually chemically. And it's so much different now than what it was, it's not even the same food. There's an interesting book called Wheat Belly that talks about the different things that they did and how much wheat has changed, but it's not the same as it was before. There are wheats like Red Fife and some of the other older styles of wheat that a lot of people can eat. I can't eat the modern wheat, but I can eat some of the older styles of wheat. And that goes the same for animals also.
Yes, and they get allergies.
Yes.
So if you do get an allergy from wheat or any food, the first thing that happens, you get, and you hear people do that, makes you sick. My wife has a favorite saying, if she hears you doing that in the morning, just die already, she says. Another one that can make you extremely tired, headaches, chest pain, heartburn, indigestion, diarrhea, or dry, itchy skin. Any one of those just from an allergy. Here, you were going to tell us a story here about a kidney.
Yeah, I had a young boy come in, and he was asking what was going on. And as soon as you looked in his eyes, you could see the uric acid, and his kidney is backed up into his lungs and into his small intestine and into his large bowel. And it was interesting because it made it so it was hard for him to breathe. So he was lightheaded and dizzy. It went into his small intestine, which caused him to be nauseous and get cramping and pains, abdominal pains, and same with the large bowel. And it all went back to he only needed one simple product, Red Clover Plus. And within 5 days, even the testing said 5 days before he'd notice a difference, and 3 weeks before it was completely gone. And found out later that that's exactly how it turned out. And as a 17-year-old, he didn't need anything else. And he's right back on track now.
Oh, okay. Here's another big problem. So if I'm a guy that got hit all the time by my dad, I could have a pancreas problem because that's resentment. And as soon as I build up the acid resentment, then it starts bothering my pancreas and eats away at it. And then I get vindictive. But bullying is horrible because, like I said, it's an emotion. And if an emotion can kill you as fast as a physical problem. So I don't care who I take it out on. So bullying, you must have heard of that before. It's really with animals will do that too. And you find out that animal is just missing a mineral. You go down and test it and it stops. A woman had a dog that bit the other 2 dogs all the time. She was going to get rid of it. I said, you don't have to. I'll tell you right even before I test what it is. They need diatomaceous earth or silica. And she said it stopped like that. It was such a miracle, she couldn't believe it. So it's just a mineral or a vitamin that destroys your body. It's an excess of one, wrong food, or a deficiency. I was just going to say before I left, some guy came in and he asked me, why is my arm aching all the time? And he was one of our testers, good testers. And in front of the class, I went through it and I said, it's from eating bananas. His wife came to the next class and said, you told him that. And he went outside and said, Terry's full of BS. That was his words. She said, well, quit it. Quit it then. For 5 days or 7 and see what happened. He said he couldn't believe it. On the 3rd day that he quit, his arm stopped aching. On the 4th day, he took the banana, his arm ached again. Stopped, quit. And it's an excess or a deficiency. We'll be right back after this message from Herb Doc. This time flies so quick, we can't even get all of the things in we want to do on a show. Thanks for joining us. Today I'd like to tell you about a couple of other neat products. Bentonite, powdered bentonite. First of all, people take and put it and they mix it with this product, but a lot of people use it for diarrhea. It's very good for somebody with diarrhea. And if you have chemical poisoning, you take a little bit in juice, or they stick it in their porridge and swallow it and then drink some extra water for bentonite. Bentonite, some people will take it and mix it with water and pat it on their face. And there was a mud found in BC, and it was $40 a bottle for mud. And you'd put it on your face, and when it dries, you wet it again and put it on, and it draws all the impurities out. So people with pimples, it cleans your face really good. That is bentonite. This other one here is called silica, an amazing product. Amazing. Silica. If you spread it on your bed and there's bed bugs in your place, it'll wipe out bed bugs. Look it up. They give it to animals, and it's under the diatomaceous earth that are eating their own feces. They stop. But you take it yourself, it's good for hair, skin, and nails. And amazing. A lady I met down in Ontario was having a problem with her hair falling out. She started taking silica and it stopped falling and said, but it's not growing. No, it takes 4 months to grow hair, even with an implant. Silica, hair, skin, and nails. It tightens and tones your body. It's good for your body. You'll feel a little better, a little better. Silica. It is very amazing for the digestive tract. And you'll find out that you'll feel a little better, and a little better on silica. But when they mix them two together and they put it in water and stick it on their face, it even draws impurities out of the face a lot faster. Remember, if you can't see a practitioner and you've got bad skin, just take silica. You've got bad skin and hair, take silica. If you have horribly greasy hair, take silica. If it doesn't go away, let me tell you a neat little tip. Rinse your hair with vinegar, and oily, greasy hair disappears very quick. I'd like to thank Ben for coming out and being on our show all the way from Toronto. They drove up here and brought some products with us, and they're taking some back. I have to thank him, but I have to really thank him for being a Shotei practitioner. There's only 22 in existence, not very many in captivity. And you can look on our website, sho-tai.ca. And if you see his name, you phone him and he'll fit you in for an appointment. He's very good, and I'm very proud of him as a fourth-class practitioner. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Terry.
See you again. Hopefully you join us on the show again. Terry Bell, hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I just love bringing information. Next coming episodes, it will be the 10 worst foods. The next show, we'll be talking about weight loss, why you lose 2 pounds, gain 4. Could it be emotional? Could it be what? We'll have a special guest on talking about it and how you can get it off and keep it off. Fourth, we will be talking about life after death. And that's life after death, meaning when you've lost a family member. If you like this and you buy our products, it helps sponsor us. For the following editions or events coming up, look on our website at sho-tai.ca.